want to know what's wrong with America? We have multinational corporations, predominantly the Fortune 100, but a lot of the Fortune 500 are involved as well, who write the laws. I mean, it's public fact. It was all over even mainstream news last November that Big Agro wrote the Food Safety Act. Didn't matter it was Big Agro that caused the 2 or 3 big health scares that happened last year. Didn't matter if it was big, giant industrial production facilities that put out the salmonella and that put out the E. coli. Didn't matter if it turned out it was the same groups in Germany. They write the laws every time they screw up to shut down their competition. And it's the same in every single field of this country. The big guys shutting down the little guys. And the railroads tried to do it when they expanded west. In fact, we had our war with Britain over gun control, but also over laws meant to shut down the little guys in commerce and in farming. The Civil War really started over that, not over slavery. If you go back and look at the North putting all sorts of regulations on the South that was predominantly agricultural, but exempting themselves in the North. This is always the issue, is economic discrimination by the insiders. America was founded against these types of unfair trade advantages. And everybody's looking for racism against blacks or whites. People are looking for discrimination on what sexual preference they have, while meanwhile, the real discrimination is going on against the little guy, no matter what color you are. Now, let me go ahead and get to this article right here. One of these is out of the Virginia Gazette. The other is out of the Journal Sentinel. And it says a new rule, not a law, but a rule. There's not a law that the TSA can stick their hands down your pants and be on the streets of America now, but there's a rule. They made a rule. A new rule being proposed by the Federal Department of Transportation would require farmers to get commercial driver's license. See, and nowhere do they point out in these articles the big issues here. Since when does the federal government have control of our transportation within the states? Since when do they get to set the speed limit or what color the road signs are? Oh, some federal money comes in that was taken from the state to begin with. But now, they're going to empower under federal rules, and the states are all going to get behind this, to turn loose the county and city and state truck police to pull up at your farm or ranch and to come up and white glove inspect your farm equipment. And if you don't know what they do to truck drivers, aggregate haulers, furniture store drivers, they don't care. Long haulers, the people that keep this country running, who have really got super hard, hellish jobs, in my opinion. If they are able to get away with this, it is another serious blow to this country. And a giant federal power grab over every rural community in this country. Now the feds say they're going to make a rule, not a law, a rule, that they have jurisdiction on your farm, your ranch, and that you are going to have to pay to take the classes and the yearly fines and the fees to get your commercial license. And they sell it in this particular article out of the Gazette, the Virginian Gazette, that, oh, well, it's just some small little fees. It's no big deal. Oh, really? Under the regulations that the feds have, do you have any idea the type of harassment? What is white glove inspection at West Point and other military academies? They come in wearing white gloves into your barracks, and they go around the light bulbs, and they go under the beds and the floor, if they can find any dirt on that white glove, you get a demerit. And so you've got to go basically run laps or get extra duties. Well, in this case, you get fines and fees. So they're going to come up to your old tractor. Well, let me tell you about the rest of it when we get back. But I'll get back to what really has me beside myself with anger, because I knew it was coming. I'd seen the Department of Transportation talking about this 2 years ago. Now they've started the public comment period. And they're saying, don't worry. The Department of Transportation is looking at reclassifying farm vehicles and implements, that's your shredder, as commercial vehicles and implements. I went into the federal website this morning at about 6:30 a.m. and couldn't believe it when I read the actual document. You can go comment on it. They could care less what you say, but you can comment on it. Maybe you can decide what color scarf to wear over your eyes in the firing squad. Or you can have some last words. You can have a cigarette, maybe, if you ask. If you're nice. It's the little things that count. The proposed rule change would mean that anyone who drives a tractor or operates any piece of motorized farming equipment would be required to pass the same test and complete the same detailed forms and logs every mile you drive. Oh, yeah. When you went to sleep at night, we're going to learn you good. Required of semi-tractor trailer drivers. Drivers would keep logs of information, including hours worked and miles traveled. Vehicles would be required to display DOT numbers, CDL in Virginia. Cost $64 for 8 years and $8 per year, not including the cost of instructional class and written test. Yeah, I looked it up. It's hundreds of dollars a year in Texas. And then under this federal situation, there's even more rules. But that's not the issue. It's the logs and it's the inspections. And they're going to come on your property. And if your brakes are worn down on that old tractor, or you haven't changed your spark plugs, they're going to hit you with fines that make your head spin. They go and actually white glove, with a glove in Austin, dirt on the back bumper. And I drove by and almost wanted to pull over and videotape it just a few days ago. I see them out here on 290 every day, the truck police, as they're called by the truck drivers, and they pull over brand new looking trucks, you name it. And they're sitting there looking at those brakes. They're wiping for dirt, and they're hitting them with $500,000 fines. It is incredible. You're like, oh, it's for our safety. Well, let me explain something. I witnessed my grandfather taking pieces of Coke cans and rubber bands and rigging combines to work and operate. It is a culture of people bragging, at least where my family's from in East Texas, to say, take a look at this tractor and open it up and show how they custom rig some 50-year-old thing to work great. That's the only way they're in business. They can't go buy those big, giant new tractors. They can't go into debt. We've got a 40-year-old tractor still working on our ranch out in East Texas, and it runs better than the South Korean piece of junk that my uncle bought 10 years ago. That thing was breaking down the first year we got it. But not the 40-year-old tractor that I rode around with my grandfather. And it's got like a 30-something-year-old shredder on the back of it. And it keeps it going. And you know what? The feds are going to come in there and they're going to say, that thing is out of business. Where are your logs? I want to see them. Federal jurisdiction over your farm, your ranch. You know, they started all this tyranny back in the 20s and 30s. They went to the dumbed-down public and they said, you're paying for these roads. And the trucks are heavier than your car. They're making a little money. Let's charge them more for the roads. Let's make them get a license. And that's how it started. And it wasn't until the 50s that most states had a driver's license for citizens. And now they're expanding. Oh, and let me tell you what's coming next. They're going to make anybody with an RV or pulling a trailer get a commercial license. And they talk about it in here. They're going to come on your property, and they're going to go back there to that heirloom tractor that you keep running because you love it. and they're going to look at its brakes, and they're going to look at its spark plugs, and they're going to look at its pistons. They're going to look at that old popper you got out back, that single cylinder. And, oh, by the way, they're saying you're going to be under... the big one, I forgot the biggest point here. They say they also want to do this to make you go under the new clean air carbon tax. See, because they've cleaned up all these vehicles, except the old ones. And now the new ones, no matter how clean they are, oh, well, now we're going to tax you for carbon dioxide coming out the tailpipe. That's why they've listed it as a toxic waste. Same thing with the power plants. That's all that's coming out, water vapor, carbon dioxide. They've got sensors on them. Feds have got aircraft flying over, Cessna's snooping. GE can dump out whatever they want, build new stuff. They're exempt, but everybody else, you're shut down, which is great. GE's going to charge you more. Doesn't matter if you have power interruptions, which we're now having more and more. You're going to learn to live like they do in Romania or Venezuela. You're going to pay more for less. It's the insider mafia model. And see, they're going to come in there now and say, oh, sorry, this tractor, this combine doesn't pass our regulations. You can't use it. And if you get uppity with those cops, they're going to call a rural affairs SWAT team to murder you. They want to. You know, I think it comes down to this at the end of the day. If you don't have an instinct when you see classical forms of slavery being set up and as a free man, you see that your freedom is being undermined and that you're being surrounded and that parasites are amassing weaponry and trying to diminish you and trying to break your will and train you to accept their authority and domination over you. It'd be one thing 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago if you weren't awake. But you've got to be deaf, dumb, and blind to not know that our whole culture is in deep trouble and crooks are running things. And to see the media nonchalantly pushing it, oh, yeah, it's real easy. The feds are going to be over your farming equipment now, and there's going to be some inspections, and they're going to be coming out and making sure you got your log books all together, and there's going to be some fines. And the sick part is they're going to get all the rodeos and all the fairs involved and all the tractor supply companies involved. So when you want to go buy a tractor, go to the fair, they already did this with Animal ID, Premises ID, they won't let you in if you haven't complied. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.